my name is Martina Ivanova. I'm the author and the creator of one of the biggest and popular sites for personal development, deep self-knowledge and well-being in Bulgaria. During the years, I've met a lot of extraordinary people, people who bring change into the world. And today, for the first time here in Bulgaria, I have the pleasure of sitting with an extraordinary woman who is the author of a method that has changed the life of thousands and thousands of people all over the world. Her method is concentrated on birth, on pregnancy, and even conception, and all those things that comes before the actual life, the consciousness life we have as mature beings. So what if I tell you that many of your fears, of the problems with your relationships, of your behavioral models you have, and even the physical problems, they might go back and root to the birth? What if I tell you that there are secrets uncovered yet, and we have the key to them? Hello, Sharon.
Hi, Marty.
Would you please tell us something more about your method, Matrix Birth Reimprinting? What does it do?
Well, it's a method for us to explore our own birth experiences. So how we get back to those subconscious memories, those memories that we don't actually consciously remember, but are recorded in our subconscious. So it enables us to go back and heal our own birth traumas. But what it also does is it helps women to have a more empowered natural birth experience. And it also helps women who have already experienced a traumatic time giving birth to their own children. With the way that we give birth in hospitals, it's really quite traumatic, and there's a lot of medical intervention, there's a lot of separation from mum and baby at birth. And this method helps you go back and heal all of that experience.
It appears that everyone who has ever been born can get some achievements from that technique.
Absolutely. If they're called to explore their own birth experience, or they feel that it's holding them back in life some way, then absolutely.
But how do we know that the problems that we have now as mature people go back to the birth?
Well, okay, so it could be that we have an underlying fear and we don't feel safe in the world. It could be that we have trouble forming relationships. We have a problem with trust. Could be that we have physical issues. Maybe we have reoccurring headaches, that we're not sure why we're having those headaches.
And all that can go back to the birth experience and before that.
Before that, absolutely.
That's really amazing. Okay, that was on one hand. On the other hand, we can help women who have had experienced some traumatic moments during their giving birth. And there is a third one. We can help women to have another birth experience, which is good and positive and the dreams experience.
Absolutely. It's all started with meeting Carl Dawson in 2007. I went to learn EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, with Carl. And a few years after that, Carl started developing the Matrix Reimprinting technique. While I was on one of his workshops, he asked me to work with a lady who was 5 months pregnant. Now, she had a fear of giving birth to her third child. She had had 2 boys previously. The labours were both very long. She had medical intervention she didn't want. It was very painful labour. And also she had trouble breastfeeding afterwards. Okay, so because there was such a lot of trauma during the birthing process, not only for her but for her children, that bonding connection wasn't really able to be, really strong. I worked with her and we cleared the trauma of giving birth to her first son. We also cleared the trauma of our own birth. So we went back and we accessed the information about her birth. We also cleared the trauma of the birth of her second son. And then we kind of got curious and played a little bit more. And I asked her to connect with her baby in the womb and to show the baby how the birth was going to be in the future. So this kind of created what I call a future birth reimprinting. And the outcome of that session, of having done all of those 4 births, was that she went on to have a very, very natural labour with her next son and the son that she had after that.
Oh my God.
So that was amazing. Other things happened, changed in their life for her children. There was a lot closer connection with them because we'd gone back and redone those moments of bonding.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot closer connection between her and her children. Her son, one of her sons had a neck injury at the time of birth. The pain in his neck went away. Caroline herself actually experienced separation anxiety when her husband would go and work away because she had been separated from her mum at birth. And that separation anxiety went away.
All that happened.
All of that happened, and that was the first ever session that I did with Matrix birth reimprinting. And as soon as she told me the results, it was like, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to help women clear their traumas, and men, of course, because men have been born too.
Yes.
But primarily women. Work with either pregnant women or any woman who's experienced a birth that has not gone to the way that she wanted it to go, because there's a big grieving process that happens. If your birth is not how you had planned it or wanted it, then, you know, women get very depressed, you know, and that I think contributes to postnatal depression, along with having a traumatic birth. You know, this is some of the keys or triggers I found that trigger women into having postnatal depression.
And you have amazing results. Mm-hmm. You know, I was laughing last night, but with joy, reading your book, saying that they call you Mama King, being the lady who helps thousands of women to deliver their babies in a really positive and good way.
Absolutely, and now I have lots of other practitioners that go out there, and one of my trainees actually calls herself a matrix midwife on call.
What is this method actually? How much science is there in it, and how much, I don't know, is it their imagination, spirituality, or anything else?
It's a combination of everything that's very much science-based. There's a lot of references in my book to various different studies, and with matrix reimprinting as well, there's a lot of information based in science. So the brilliant work that Bruce Lipton does.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looking at how our beliefs actually shape our lives. Greg Braden's work. And on the birth psychology, I'm currently training to be a birth educator with APA, which is the Association of Pre- and Perinatal Health and Psychology. Now they have a whole library of studies about how babies are conscious beings. So there is so much research out there that that when we're at the time that we're in the womb, we are learning. We are constantly learning about the world outside of us through the perceptions of the mother.
Oh my God. And that leads me to the next question actually, because there are so many years and generations of doctors and all medical people who have taught us and told us that the babies are unconscious beings without emotions, without fears, without feelings, without intelligence. And now the recent researchers say something different, and you say something different. Mm-hmm. Where is the truth?
Well, the truth comes from the experience that people are having. There are a few people actually in the world who do remember their time in the womb. There's a really lovely story in my book about a little 3-year-old who, when his mum is arranging his birthday party, said, "Oh, do you remember your birth?" And he went, "Yes, Mummy, I remember my birth." And he then goes on to recite, he tells her the information of what happened. Now for her, from her point of view, the birth was extremely painful, and she turned around and she actually told the doctors that it feels like my back is breaking. That's how she described the pain, that it was breaking her back. So So they gave her an epidural, and while they gave her this epidural, unfortunately they gave her too much, and she ended up being paralysed from the neck downwards. And she started panicking because she couldn't breathe, or she couldn't feel herself breathing. But she also couldn't move her arms, so her son ended up being born by C-section. So they cut him out, and they placed him on her chest, but she couldn't hold him because her arms were paralysed. Now that was her story that she told me, and what the little boy said, he said, "Yes, mummy," he said, "I tried to get out," he said, "but I couldn't get out. I just couldn't find my way out." He said, "So what I did is I went and got myself a stepladder." He said, "And when the light appeared, I started climbing up the stepladder to get myself out." He said, "And then there you were." He said, "But also, I wasn't breaking your back anymore." He heard his mother, or understood his mother explain that her back was breaking, and he took that to be his own, you know, that's what he was doing to his mother. But the other thing he remembered was the fact that his mum couldn't hold him. And he said to he said to his mother, he said, but I wanted you to hug me and you didn't hug me. And she said, "No, darling, I couldn't hug you because my arms were paralysed." And she explained to him what had happened, and then he jumped into her arms and she gave him a big hug, and that was kind of like the healing of that.
Is it imagination or is it real? That's what I mean. Can you tell a story like maybe for a session or two that you have with your clients, you've done that re-imprinting, that change in the memories, and something has ever changed in their life?
I have lots of stories on that, but first of all I just want to say that our mind doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what's real. And
when we re-imprint the birth process, then we have a real effect in our lives.
Absolutely. There's a lady whose son had, when he was being born, he got stuck in the womb, so he's pulled out by forceps. But unfortunately nobody noticed that he had a broken collarbone. So every time she went to hold him, to feed him, of course the two bones were kind of rubbing together and causing immense pain for this baby. Now incidentally, they've done studies and babies can feel pain almost 4 times as strongly as adults. This poor baby was feeling this pain, and the baby's belief was it's too painful to be touched. So every time she went to touch him, to hold him, he didn't want to be held. To feed him, she had to prop him up in the corner of the chair and bottle feed him. So when I did the session with him he was 14 years old, so I did the session with his mum, and we went back and we healed all the trauma of his birth and recreated how the birth should have been. So a really lovely bonding experience and being held and being breastfed without the pain. And that evening, she said she was in her kitchen doing her washing up, and her 14-year-old son came running in from having been outside playing football with his mates and went, Mum, I've got really bad pain in my back. Would you mind just rubbing my back for me?" And she went, "Oh my God, okay." So she almost drops her washing up and goes and rubs his back. And then he turns around and he gives her a really big hug and went, "Oh, thanks, Mum," and goes rushing back out again. Now that, for her, I mean, she said I was stood there in floods of tears because that was the first time that he's ever either asked for physical touch from me, invited physical touch, and given me a hug. But he did it as if he'd been doing it all his life. It was only, you know, it was only strange to her.
That's a really amazing story, and it really shows that there is a difference, and there is immediate difference after the session. A session or two, or whatever it is. Can you give us the huge idea, the big idea? What are the things we can change? Like emotions and relationships and physical traumas and pains and fears, and what else? What else can we change in our lives using that technique?
Well, I think you pretty much covered a lot of it there. But we can also help women who have suffered from infertility, women who are having trouble breastfeeding. I've even helped women who are pregnant when their baby is breached. We've done sessions together and we've actually turned the baby to be in the right position.
No physical.
No physical. Touch, no, it's all. This was via Skype. So
and the baby would turn.
And the baby turned in the right position. Every single mother I've worked with, we've encouraged. We've got the baby to turn because there's usually a fear. Yeah, there's usually a fear involved. We've also helped to start labour. This lady was told she was 10 days late and they wanted to induce her and they were going to induce her in the morning. So she phoned me up at 10 o'clock at night and said, please, can we get the labour started, otherwise they're going to induce me. Oh. So we helped her. So, and she went into labour, I think, 2 o'clock that morning. And again, it was a fear. A fear for the mother and the baby. While the baby's in the womb, the baby picks up that fear. So the baby starts going, well, it's not safe out there. I don't know that I want to come out. So they get themselves in positions, or they're just coming out a bit later. So.
Great. And what about really traumatic experiences, like very traumatic births, like abortions, like women who lost their children, their babies? There is really a lot of grief out there. What can we do with matrix birth imprinting to help women? Yes,
we can go back and we can heal all the emotions that are associated with that. I had a lady who had an abortion when she was 18, and she ended up with a physical tumour growing in her belly. And going back and healing the trauma, all the traumas associated when she was 18 years old around that time, the physical tumour in her body reduced by half. And that was in 3 sessions. The work that I am most passionate about doing is actually helping people who have either had stillbirths or miscarriages, because not only does that affect their lives, but it also affects the lives of the future children coming in as well. So
the generations.
Yeah. But also, you know, for a baby that's in a womb of a mother that still hasn't grieved or is still grieving the loss of a previous child, who is in fear of losing another child through miscarriage or stillbirth, then, you know, that's going to affect the baby's growth development, that's going to affect the baby's psychology even.
Thank you for sharing all that. It's really, really important, and it gives hope. I'm sure it will give hope to many people who will watch this video, and it's good to know that there is something out there that can help them.